institutions or organizations that Scenic City Sports is involved with in a professional or personal capacity. Thanks for watching and enjoy the show.
And welcome everybody to this Wednesday night, August the 10th, 2022 edition of Scenic City Sports. Rusty, Scott, and Rob bringing it to you live from the Man Cave.
Happy Football Eve.
Happy Football Eve tomorrow night in the Chattanooga, North Georgia area. Football is beginning. We have it. What we've got tomorrow night is...
Well, we've had a couple of scrimmages here and there. I mean, we've had scrimmages really most of July pretty much. But tomorrow night, of course, starts the big three-night Best of Preps Jamboree up at Finley Stadium. I think there's going to be 7 or 8 teams there that night. They'll be playing 20-minute quarters. starting at 6 o'clock. We just updated the schedule last night. It's on Scenic City Sports on Facebook. $10 get you in for the entire night. Friday, they'll start over again at 6, and Saturday they'll start over again. I think at 6 o'clock. I think it's 6 every night. It might be 6:30, or one of the nights might go an extra 30 minutes. But 23 teams this year from Hamilton County, from Bradley County, from Marion County, and even Rutherford County, as Blackman's headed down here.
Moved up the street of woods and found one of the big boys that play out of that neck of the woods. Arguably, in the state of Tennessee, public-wise, the strongest region of football that comes out of the state is argued in that area up through there. Of course, you got Riverdale and you got Oakland. Yeah, who could forget about them? But yeah, absolutely. I mean, how many years now, guys, has it seemed like that we have made that same opening statement, Scott, that you just made, the eve of high school football?
Yes.
But we have the same tone of voice every year that we've ever said it.
Yeah,
because we look forward to it.
Oh yeah, it's for me. It's the best part of the year. It just is, and of course, if you're not at the Jamboree, I know Heritage is going to be at Bradley Central tomorrow night in the scrimmage. I think Gordon Lee's doing an inter-squad scrimmage, and if you didn't see it earlier, Ringgold and Chattanooga Central were supposed to scrimmage tomorrow night up in Harrison. That has been moved to Friday night, still at 7 o'clock. They just bumped it up a day, I think probably because of the... if I had to guess, I would say the field was probably a little too wet.
Well,
after the rains,
I would
today.
make this open statement. You know, they can do what they want to, but if my field got rained on as much as it did today, I'd say Ringo, with your plastic field down there, can we come down there right quick?
Why not?
What do you bother?
Lakeview, I know, is going to Dade County Friday night at 7. Lafayette's hosting Model Friday night at 7. And I'm sure there's other scrimmages that will be going on. There was quite a number of scrimmages in North Georgia this past Friday night. And more this Friday night. Like I said, still practice. These games don't count. But we won't be saying that after this weekend.
And not to change the subject, but I've watched this since school got out last year, and Macaulay got right on to tearing up their turf and putting down new turf, which made me start to think about some of the schools that's had turf down now for a while. And the first one that popped up in my head was Ridgeland.
Yeah.
And that's got to be getting very close, if not... we know that Macaulay's got the ability to say, oh, okay, well, let's change out.
Let's go here. And, I don't like the colors of those end zones.
Yeah, it was just 2 years ago, but we want another one. And I realize the public schools can't be in that predicament, but by the same token, Ridgeland, Ringo... who am I might be missing there? I think Gordon Lee. Where's that?
Gordon Lee, I think, replaced some of theirs here not too long ago.
Doesn't Lafayette have turf too?
No, they do not. But they
not yet.
Head in that direction.
Well, I mean, honestly,
Ridgeland's went down in 2010.
Yeah, I was going to say there's
12 years.
But I was thinking they said it was only supposed to be like it was either a 10-year guarantee or was it 20?
No, I think
it was 10.
I thought it was a 10, and that puts that.
But it's still in good shape.
Well, they're 12 years. Well, we say in good shape, but they're again just like computers or phones.
Well,
it's obsolete.
It's
3 days after you buy it.
It is, but I was out there the other day, and the turf is still, from my vantage point, it's still in good shape. It wasn't like. We were over there several years back, and when Macaulay's was just completely flat. All the blades of the
Well, we also saw that down at Finley, too.
Trampled down, yeah.
It surprises me, honestly, that at this point, as long as that technology has been around and the amount of money that they save in not having to mow those fields, the maintenance of it all, how everybody at this point doesn't have turf.
It's just a money thing.
Not only on the football field, but your baseball and your softball fields too, because you're employing someone year in and year out to do all that.
And I really think really the first round of coming up with the money, because then you can start to budget it for 10 years out, right?
Right.
Ringo came about theirs due to the worst case scenario, a storm, but that they did a lot of good things come out of that for Ringo. And Coach Tucker had the opportunity. He passed on it, but he had the opportunity of making that infield artificial as well.
Yeah.
But he passed on that whole deal because they were, and Scott, I know it's changing the subject, but there's so many daggum rainouts early, particularly in North Georgia. You almost think, Macaulay sits over there with an artificial, and they don't worry about that. They're playing while everybody else is canceling.
And maybe it's just a personal preference.
It was.
Maybe you just don't want to play baseball on turf, and I get that. I mean, it's not the same as a grass field. Part of the rain problem would be solved if Georgia would just wait to start the season.
True. I've always said that.
It's too cold. It's too wet.
The whole time they're trying to get it done.
You lose a whole lot of practice time early in the season just because of
because that ain't going on either.
Well,
well, that's because Rusty, now we're practicing in January.
Yeah, and it gets dark a whole. You don't get extended days until almost March.
And now you're seeing a lot of the teams from up around here traveling to Savannah. They'll start the season in Savannah. There's like 3 or 4 teams.
I mean, can't say anything. We deal with that mess in golf. I mean, we go out there getting ready to practice early in the season. The problem that we have is either one day it's either 50 degrees and the next day it's 80 degrees.
I'm no.
Maybe not for too much longer.
Or the courses are like hitting off,
And I'm not the smartest guy in the world when it comes to sports, some people say. But if they moved that to the fall, all worries would be off.
Oh, it would definitely alleviate a lot. And you move golf to the fall and you've got the courses are in perfect condition. I mean, it takes away a lot of that. Plus, you're not competing with all the other teams when it comes to if you need transportation to a match or something like that. You don't have as many things going on in the fall as you do in the spring.
Well, and I've said this.
Spring's
Scott,
crazy.
I personally think Georgia is a win-win when it's talking about girls softball playing in the fall as opposed to Tennessee trying to get on the field.
Well, I'll tell you, weather. We're talking about golf because I think it's going to happen. Maybe not this season. I think by next year. But they're thinking about it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, if they were going to do it for this season, they'd have to pull that trigger in the next couple of weeks.
I think me and you talked about this off the air not too long ago, but they were looking at possibly some sports that they could add for the GHSA. None of them got approved. One of them was competitive barbecue.
Nice.
There are, and I'm not making. There are actually barbecue teams in Texas. I think it's a sport.
So there's states out there that are doing that.
Okay. I would like to see. I'd like to see billiards.
Well, how about seafood boils down in Florida?
But to go back to your point about the softball, the other thing that I think Georgia takes advantage of playing softball in the fall, and there's only a handful of states that do it, Oklahoma and a few others here and there, is the fact that the big time college coaches can come to the state tournament and watch that way. And by the way, they're kind of revamping, at least for the next 2 years, and we'll see what happens. And I forget the reasoning for it. The way that's been done for several years now in Georgia high school softball is you play, it's a 32-team tournament, and you have your first round best-of-3 series, and you have your second round best-of-3 series, and the winners go to Columbus for the Elite Eight. What they're going to have this year is going to be more set up like college. You're going to have 4 teams. The number 1 seed will host those 4 teams, and they're going to have super regionals.
You like it?
I do like that one.
Different.
It's going to be a little different, but I like it. And
what do you think about high school coaches? What do you think their opinion of that would be? Do they see that harder, or do they see that?
I don't think it's that big of a difference. I mean, you might play a little bit more softball, but I think it's getting more like the college game, and it's.
So there's a chance that a Gordon Lee or a Heritage or a Ringo or Lakeview Lafayette, not going to leave nobody out, Richland, that they could be hosting.
Oh, yeah.
A 14.
Yeah, if you win your region, you're going to host a 4-team super regional for the next 2 years. So whoever comes out of 6 AAA is going to host. Whoever comes out of 7 AAA is going to, 7 4A is going to host. And by the way, I think I put it on my Facebook page, or somebody put it on their Facebook page. The preseason Georgia softball rankings came out today from Score Atlanta. Now, take it with a grain of salt. They're basically looking at what did you do last year, and I don't know how much research was put into who's coming back and who's not coming back. Mm-hmm. But Region 7 4A, which is our region up here, Heritage, Central of Carrollton, Northwest Whitfield, Sonoraville, and Cedartown. 5 of the 6 teams in that region, not counting Southeast Whitfield, 5 of those teams are ranked in the top 8 in Class 4A.
Help me out. Lakeview, Ringo.
They're 3A. The only team from Region 6 AAA that I remember that is ranked is Gordon Lee, who's now in AAA this year, and they're ranked 6th.
Ranked 6th.
In AAA.
Well, but did they or did they not win last year?
They finished 2nd.
Okay. And they out of...
They ended the streak of 6 in a row.
6 in a row, okay. And so by moving up a classification, two classifications, they were still looked at as a 6.
Yeah. I mean, that's nothing but respect, I think. But at the same time, 6 AAA is going to be so much fun this year in all sports across the board. But softball, Lafayette's already sitting there at 2-0. Lakeview's bringing everybody back. Ringo's lost a few, but they're going to have some good players coming back. Gordon Lee's bringing back a ton from last year. Kahula Creek,
does that not ever change for Gordon Lee and
Ridgeland's moving up from 4A.
I mean, we always talk about the 3 or 4 seniors that graduate and they go and play college ball, and then you turn around and say the same thing. Well, they're bringing back a ton.
It's a program. It's a program. And
It is a program.
Dana Reed Mull.
And that's the difference in a team that had success in a program. A program
19, I think this is her 20th year now as coach, believe it or not. If I've counted right, it's 20 years. She's won 19 consecutive region titles since she's been there. She's taken the team to the state tournament 19 consecutive years.
How many state titles?
11 state titles.
Yeah.
They have played in the finals in each of the last 16
She's literally
seasons.
opening a jewelry store.
The last time...
At this point.
Balfour just keeps got her on speed.
Let me show you how these rings have evolved over the last.
They've never finished less than 3rd in the state, and they've only done it twice, and that was her first year and 2 years after that.
And we've patted that program on the back many times, and deservingly so. Who do you think? And I'm going to use Georgia football or / Georgia baseball, Scott. When we talk about state.
Let me say one thing.
Who does she?
And that's not to slight any other of the teams in 6 AAA, because like I said, there's some good softball that's going to be played. And Gordon Lee is
ball / program
Buford.
or baseball.
Buford
football. Because you looked upon it because
Buford anything. I mean,
do they all their sports get in that same category?
Oh yeah, I mean
even baseball.
Buford, yeah.
I know they've been good, but I don't know that they always.
Yeah,
did.
they're good in just about everything across the board. And Buford is now with 7A. Now think about it. They were single A not too many years ago. And they have to keep moving up because they keep changing the multiplier and they keep adding stuff because they're trying to move the city schools up. And now here's Buford, who just a few years ago...
Classification-wise, numbers-wise, where should they be? 5?
I think they're still probably like 4.
That's amazing, and I also think it's a punishment too. And I've said that before.
It is.
I think when Calhoun got moved up 2 classifications, I said that from a standpoint that you've just come up with a figure off the top of your head, so to speak, and you're just saying, okay, y'all need to move up. 2 classifications is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and just because you're saying a multiplier is involved in it, and that's what puts you there, that's to me, that's not fair.
Well, the multiplier has increased. It used to be 1.5 in Georgia. Then it bumped up to 2, and the reason it's now at 3 is because you've got a couple of private school teams, Pace, Lovett, who are basically winning everything in Class 2A and Class 3A. And other people said, "Hey, we've got to do something about this."
The teams that those teams beat on a regular basis, they're probably going to stand back and say, "Yeah, they need to move up 2 classes." But the numbers doesn't say it.
No,
just because you made up a multiplier, that doesn't mean it should be there.
Okay, so St. Pius, for instance, I think St. Pius this year is going to be in Class 6A with Marist. But they had originally had them, I think they were going to be in Class 7A, and they might still be in Class 7A. I don't have the sheet off the top of my head. They have 50 kids on their football team. And now they're going to put them in Class 6A or
got
Class
135.
7A. Because
or more.
Their service area, and this was a point in contention, they're like, you have to use the closest public school as your service area. Well, they had like 1,030 was their numbers or whatever enrollment. Well, 1,029 live technically out of district. So they have to count every one of those students 3 times. So their adjusted enrollment numbers were 4,200. And they're like, we're putting you in Class 7A. And the St. Pius people are like, we have 45
There's a
or
lawsuit.
50 kids.
There's a lawsuit that you could get a good lawyer to defend you on that and win.
Yeah.
And win.
It's not
all
safe.
day long.
It's not safe.
No,
but
it's not.
That's the way it is now. And
well, GHSA, if they're
people get
not,
their feelings hurt because they can't win state titles, and
if they're not careful, they're going to wind up with themselves in a never-ending lawsuit. The way the TSSAA is right now with Brentwood Academy, that's been going on. Excuse me. That's been going on now for how many years? 20-something years. That lawsuit's been in court and out of court. And
I don't know how close we actually came, but the Georgia State Legislature was seriously talking about disbanding the GHSA in the offseason. And they talked them through it and said, here's what we need to see from you guys. So after this classification cycle, which started this school year, 2 years from now, they're going to go back to 6 classes instead of 7, which will hopefully reduce the amount of travel and help get a little more local rivalries and what. Now, they're still going to separate Class A, so we're still technically going to have 7 divisions, but it'll be 6 classes. And there's a few other things as far as, eligibility and stuff like that. But they were, I don't know how serious they were, but it was serious enough that the executive director went down and talked to members of the state legislature for about 3 weeks.
You're basically coming back and saying, because you've got 50 under that multiplier, you got 50 kids. You got 50 kids that are better than this school over here that's got 135 in football players.
And here's the thing.
That's not so.
And it's not you have 50 athletes out of district, so we're going to play you up. They're talking about 50 students. None of those students may even play anything. And yet we're going, and that's always, I've never understood why they do this, and it wouldn't be that hard to figure it out. Figure out how many athletes you have that are out of district.
Makes it too easy,
Scott. And then
adjust
that with the multiplier.
Makes it too easy.
Bremen, the folks in Bremen were mad because they were Class 2A, and they had like 400 students out of the district. And I remember seeing message boards and them saying, very, very few of those athletes are kids are coming to Bremen for athletics. They said, the ones that are really good in athletics are going to Carrollton.
Obviously, I have to be a little careful when I say anything about this because I got a dog in this fight.
I know.
But the problem, in a lot of ways, is that you are allowing a precious few to rule the mass. And in that situation, what you wind up with is, you wind up with these small schools, and the difference in some of those small schools and some of the large, the little bit bigger schools, not the giant schools, but when you've got a school like St. Pius that only has a set amount of enrollment, the thing about St. Pius is look at their, like in football, for instance, look at their coaching staff versus some other school that's not where St. Pius is located in that same classification, and look at their coaching staff.
Well, there might be 2 to 1.
That's the difference. The difference is not. I mean, that's the thing. Is if I have 150 kids that come out to play football, and I've got 4 coaches, maybe 5, 4 or 5 coaches on staff, couple of volunteer coaches, whereas at somewhere like, I'm going to use Tennessee as an example. Whereas somewhere like, Maryville,
Lipscomb
Academy, how many coaches do they have? I mean,
6.
they have a coach for every,
they did have
position. They have anything that they could possibly need, and that makes the difference.
I agree with you. Some schools can find ways to have some distinct advantages, especially in the from the private sector in that respect, because they have the resources. Yeah, I remember something that Coach Potter told me a decade ago when we started talking about held the conversation, I think, at the